Better Daily, where we work hard in our minds, bodies, and our spirits to become 1% better every single day. Download the app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live to catch the video version of these podcasts. Here's your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What's up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Friday. It is Flex Friday, and you can call me Coach because we're going through something from an exercise perspective to help you on your 1% better journey. Also, I'd be horribly remiss if I didn't say Holy Good Friday to you and your family. I hope that you guys remember the reason for the season today and that we get to celebrate together on Easter. So, that said, before I get to what we're not going to do, because today we're going to continue our Don't Do That series, and these are the things that I see in the gym setting that I want to encourage you guys not to do. We've talked about some posture, we've talked about squeezing through our pinkies and activating our lats, and today Don't Do That is don't let your calves get weak. So we're going to get there in just a second. Good morning, KT. Good to see you this morning. I did want to let you know, if you didn't see it already, that the registration for the Faithful 40 Challenge is now open. You're going to see some huge communication about that over the app over the next 2 weeks. Faithful 40 Challenge starts on May 1st. It's going to be an awesome time and an awesome opportunity in this community to get connected and to move forward on your 1% better journey. So today we're talking about don't do that. Don't let your calves get weak. This is just a crazy important topic that most people have no idea about. But here's the deal. When we walk, when we run, when we do cardiovascular exercise, even when we're doing strength training with our legs, our calves are horribly, horribly underrated as a muscle group of importance. And what I mean by that is when we walk, let's see if I can get my foot up here. Here we go. Yeah, when we walk, our calf, that's this muscle right here, that's our calf complex. It's made of our soleus and our gastrocnemius. The soleus comes up under the gastrocnemius, and the gastrocnemius is that big, thick muscle right there. The soleus and the gastrocnemius allow our foot to spring when we walk. Okay, so when this muscle shortens, because remember, muscles can only shorten, they can't push, they can only pull, right? So when our muscle pulls, it pulls on this tendon, very, very important tendon called the Achilles tendon, and it creates, that's called plantar flexion. That's pointing the toe, right? Now, when we walk, that is, our calf is what allows the springiness. That's what allows us to move forward. And it turns out that our calf muscle might be one of the most important muscles in our body for healthy joints and for longevity and independence. There was a study done in Sports Medicine Journal, super, super interesting. What they did is they looked at different things, different factors that might affect somebody's long-term health and fitness and their independence, whether or not they're independent later in life. And so they looked at things like smoking, and they looked at things like diet, and they looked at things like obesity. And it turns out the number one indicator of whether or not we're going to be independent, meaning we're able to take care of ourselves, we're able to walk around and get around and do things for ourselves, the number one indication whether or not that was the case was not whether or not we were a smoker, whether or not we adhered to a specific diet plan, whether or not we were obese or not. It had everything to do with whether or not we had powerful calves. I know, crazy, right? So they tested calf power on a leg press machine, and people had to bounce and see how much power they could produce from their calves, and then they followed up with these people 10 and 15 years later to find out whether or not they were still independent. And it turns out that the most heavily correlated thing with independence was whether or not your calves were powerful. Now, I know not everybody here is looking at aging into potential Alzheimer's in the next 10 to 15 years, but I want to stress this and the importance of this because I see this in the gym a lot. I see weak calves all the time, and well, as a trainer, it really hurts my heart because I can see somebody walking with weak calves. I can see somebody running with weak calves. I can see somebody doing the Stairmaster with weak calves. I can see somebody squatting or deadlifting with weak calves. And I'm I'm like, oh, I'm dying inside. I want to say, don't let your calves get weak. Don't let those muscles get weak. Don't neglect them. They're extremely important, and you have no idea how important they are in your life. And it's actually very common among people, unless you're training them, unless you're telling your calves, hey, get stronger. I really care about you, and I'm going to take good care of you, and I'm going to make sure you're strong, right? Unless you're actively doing that, it is very, very, very common and natural for you to lose calf strength over your life. And you'll start walking, running, whatever it is that you do to get around. You'll start shuffling. You'll start landing on your heel right here, landing on your heel rather than the middle of your foot and even toward the toe. And you won't roll off of the toe and push off of your toe behind you, which actually allows your glute to work, biomechanically speaking. You won't do that anymore. You'll use your hip flexor to pull your leg up and back in front of you, and that's what you'll do over time, and it'll get worse and worse and worse, and then you'll be like, oh, my knees really hurt, my hips really hurt, my back really hurts, and you won't feel springy anymore. You'll start to feel old, and that's never good, right? So here's what you can do to help your body not let your calves get weak, okay? There are standing calf raises, there are seated calf raises, which I'll demonstrate today, and then there's a mindfulness around your mobility. That means, doing things like lunges or like pushing like a sled or something along those lines and staying on your toes, or when you go for a walk, thinking about as your leg comes behind you, pushing off of it to push yourself forward, or perhaps maybe you go for jogs or runs. If you could, for short distances, land on your midfoot and or your toe for just a little bit. You don't have to run that way the whole time, but just for a little bit to give your calves a good workout. There's a lot of different things we can do to not let our calves get weak, but I want you to have this in your head. I want you to have this in your head with regard to cardio. I want you to have this in your head with regard to your warm-up. Don't let your calves get weak. Don't have weak calves. Don't do it. All right, so here's one of the things you can do. You can do this once or twice a week. This is called a seated calf raise. It's very, very simple to do, right? Okay, so I've got this adjusting the camera here. Okay. So a seated calf raise looks like this. I have a little step in front of me so that I can get a greater stretch. I can do it on the ground, but I wouldn't get as deep of a stretch. But really all I'm doing is I've got my foot on the edge of a step. I let that heel come all the way down, get a deep stretch in my calf muscle here, and then I come all the way up and hold it for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then nice and strong on the way back down. I can do both of my feet at the same time. This is a seated calf raise. The seated position hits our soleus just a little harder. The soleus is this muscle on the inside, right up under the gastrocnemius. The gastrocnemius is the big muscle in the back, very, very important part of the calf complex. But the soleus is often underworked, right? So the seated position hits that soleus a little harder. I can weight this by just leaning forward and lifting my whole body, pushing up, and all the way back down. Or if I want to get real fancy, I can add a little weight to it with a dumbbell, barbell. Grandkids are really good for this. Hint, hint. Put your grandkids on your knees. Lift them all the way up nice and tall. Come on back down. Good. You can do this once or twice a week. 2 sets of 15 to 20 is really all you need to do. And this will make sure that your calves don't get weak. Now, calves are mostly type 1 muscle fibers. Rewind, try again. And type 1 muscle fibers are endurance muscle fibers. That means you have to do quite a few reps. You don't need a whole lot of weight in order to strengthen the calves. Now, there's almost no reason that anybody who can walk can't do this on a regular basis. So this is my charge to you on Flex Friday. Don't let your calves get weak. They're extremely important. If your calves do not absorb the shock of gravity, your bones will. And that's not good, because our bones don't absorb gravity shock very well. And that will certainly result in some bad stuff for us. So don't let your calves get weak. Coach Alex told you so on Flex Friday. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you guys next week for Mindset Monday. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. And until then, it's just 1%. You got this.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% Better today. Don't forget to subscribe for the podcast. Leave us a raving review to tell others how Better Daily has helped you in your journey. If you want more Better Daily, download our app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live. Use code POD to get 25% off your subscription. That's POD, all caps, to save 25% on your subscription. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.live today.